Welcome to another edition of the CivBattleRoyale. My name is Dawkinzz, and this is episode 25, Nautical Nightmares. As the world slowly turns, wars push deeper, and the limits of empires are pushed to the breaking point. Starting on turn 386, let's get right into this. Hello everyone, it's me, user Lunar Needle again for a quick on-the-spot narration after a narrator couldn't make it. It's also Thanksgiving as I narrate, so Dawkinzz can attend his boring real-life stuff. I assure you, CBR is more important. Jokes aside, it's going to be an interesting episode as tensions flare up and wars get pushed to the limit. Dawkinzz here to let you know that due to Lunar's boisterous way of writing and talking, I might be a little speedy, so if you need to turn it down to 0.75 speed, that should be the standard rate to focus and pay attention. So without further ado, let's continue. Speaking of being pushed to the limits, I'm formally sorry to Dawkinzz. I went a bit overboard last week, so I made this narration a lot shorter so you can rest your vocal cords after an exciting holiday season. I hope that user Lungora will accept this apology. Ignore the gun, Dawkinzz. Just keep talking. User Staunch Boat Mormon brings up another OC for this part, proving that people will never forget. The lyrics for said parody are also on the sub. I myself want to hear more songs on the Dawkinzz Sings albums. It's too good. Well, we'll just have to wait until the Manx die. User Varia is insane. We even left out some images due to the speedy nature of the part without Rion overseeing it, and he still made an amazing map with more features. Now puppeted cities are darker than Annex cities, showcasing the scales of war. A lot of Kazakh cities remain puppeted while the Yupik struggle with their sick new gains. Can't wait to see it change. For another map, we turn to user The Honesty Fish's Greatest Extent series, which continues to catalog the maximum size the fallen empires have risen. We see here Papua, who once had a commanding presence on the continent, swept away by New Zealand in a fit of rage. It's honestly sad to look at this. Papuan green is better than all others. And with the PR slide, it's Uruguay. You know it's Uruguay. We know it's Uruguay. It's Uruguay. I don't even have the power rankings right now, and I'm still going to say it's Uruguay. Hey, that deviation is probably higher, and there's probably a Uruguay cursed civ ball somewhere on this, so I don't know why, and ranking hasn't even concluded, so I know it's true. We open the narration with the Métis infesting the Apache lands, having obviously taken open borders in the peace deal. I wonder if they have taken some Apache luxuries in the peace deal to secure safe passage. Regardless, it seems with the flood of units flowing in that the Apache will have to have lightning-quick decision-making to retain their cities with most of the units around their immediate core. We can also notice some Great War infantry joining alongside riflemen near Shishinde, which could mean that these field guns will be more readily replaced with artillery soon enough. Tick-tock, Geronimo. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. This is looking back. Crossbowmen try valiantly to take back the homeland, but cavalry are clashing with crossbowmen to the east while lancers die around Yin to riflemen and Gatling guns. Unless peace is sued, this is unlikely to be anything but devastating for the Qing. I expect the Navy to flip and eventually control Baoding before Beijing falls. Qing Kamchatka might be their last hope. I imagine the many Qing great people must be in direct talks with the Kamag electorate to intervene in the conflict with the Qin. Meanwhile, the Nazca declare on Shikoku, which might be a thing with the amount of garbage ships off of the Nazca capital. It might, but New Zealand war might be a bigger distraction. Tenanyokan and Texcoco fall down alongside Huaxotzinco that fell last part off screen. With a smattering of units, more settlers than combat-ready units, it's only time until the swordsmen and crossbowmen get wiped away. The Tongan units nearby brought popcorn. They might not be causing the destruction, but I imagine they are enjoying it. Silence hits the snowy warfront as an armistice was fired off-screen. The many units begin to realize exactly what happened. So many units flipped, and in the end, the Kazakhs have pushed the Evenks into two northern colonies of equal size, eviscerated the huge piles of reindeer warriors, and set the record strength on their viability. The Kazakhs are something to be feared, which, considering what other blue civs lie in South America, That might be a good thing. I might be incorrect here, but are the Vikings positioning to attack the Sami? Somehow the Ice Grandmother herself has managed to lose the majority of her carpet to irrelevant wars a couple of parts ago and still hasn't recarpeted. Perhaps she's friendly with her neighbors and Ragnar will not have any of that. In other words, there's some resolutions that have been discussed. We'll show them in further detail by the end of the album. Oh, so about capturing Tosa. It seems that would require confidence in your ability prowess, and that doesn't seem to be on the docket for Sedan as his units get shredded. Perhaps this was an advanced power play, as while he gets shredded, army pressure is focused internally at the country rather than sending their massive submarine fleet to patrol the waters. Also on this screenshot is the Shikokan unique unit, the Kurufun, floating around the puppeted city of Tejan, which replaces the frigate with a range of 3. A shame submarines are floating around though, but it's nice to see. Pretty nice icon too. What happened to the Moor army? I remembered it was more numerous and filled every tile. Now the army around Cordoba is Haitian instead of Moorish. Maybe they didn't get paid enough, so they all went into piracy. Explains the overwhelming amount of privateers at least. Would you imagine a Haitian Africa? That'd be pretty badass. I was thinking they moved their army to the Beninese front, but I don't see that. What happened to the Moor army? Did they just carpet delete to recover from gold problems? Well, whatever they did, they left a gap for Benin to fill, but I'd remain cautious until Madagascar units stopped appearing in your territory, as those buggers get everywhere. Keep the checkin' though. I love those little guys. P.S. I swear, every time I see the Benin unique unit, I remember the 3D maze wallpaper. That's from like Windows 95 if you're even born at that time. I imagine that's what the Czechs are experiencing. Nostalgia. Balankab was captured by an insanely competent military play from the slightly technologically obsolete Beta Israel. I mean, they're just in beta. And in their army in an impressive move of units defending and reinforcing the front. Meanwhile, Madagascar continues to flood into Beninese lands in a disturbing fashion. Yin flips for most likely the last few times as the Giga city of Beijing is now on the front line. With the amount of melee units beginning to shrink more, it seems that time is beginning to dwindle. Can they sue for peace in time? I'm beginning to expect them to be relegated to the far north once their capital falls. Meanwhile, irrelevant war was declared on 2 empires far away from each other. Meanwhile, more people declare peace on the dying empire of the Qing. I wonder if anyone will come to their aid. There's so many machine guns and not enough people behind the guns, I feel. I would say there's not enough people, but each of these cities are millions upon millions of people within their walls. It's absolutely insane that I think that the only thing this war will do is allow for peacekeepers to infiltrate Nepalese lands, which is honestly a more immediate problem than any Marathan and Kazakh unit. So, whoever voted that New Zealand will advance in the prediction contest deserves a swift high five, as it seems that any major downside of the Shikokan War will mean little as the hand of Robin Williams extends over Japan. Loving the flubber reference, that's lore now. We can't see much, but Tsukumo at the top of the screen is already taking damage. In addition, Susaki is fully in the grip of Sedan with little hope of capture due to Madagascan influence. Once more, the balance in the Asia-Oceanic theater changes like a ball in a roulette wheel, spinning round and round. Where will it end up? Also, the Great Firewall was built, setting up the cyberstate in Montevideo, all bowed down to the Uruguay overlords. It's unlikely the pain of war will rip through this continent for a long time, allowing for some pretty big cities to sprout up here. With no little puppeted cities, this will prove to be a slow but effective land force allowing Iroquois to project their power up to Greenland and beyond. Dare I say, they can project their power to the Manx. I dare. If that happens, I might have to release something. It seems that Shikoku might have a chance to take down the Tongu Navy here for now, but I have a large feeling that war here will be decided on who can get their garbage patch to the front line. However, I would take the Tongu mixed navy over the unrestricted submarine warfare strategy the Shikokans currently employ. Once more, Tonga watches. Those sick bastards. Always there, always watching. Isn't there a supply limit? You know, that thing that is supposed to prevent 5 city empires from flooding every single tile that exists in the world? This has to be illegal, Madagascar. Meanwhile, Palmyra just sits there, doing nothing. Menacingly. It seems this is the line that Shikokan troops will be able to do damage in, as Waghanmata takes air raid damage while armies come to reinforce the front. You can hear the air sirens in the distance. This seems to be the extent of the Shikokan projection of power, especially with a new challenger threatening the very seas itself. There must be some people happy to see a screenshot of this region as Maniwa get stricken down by privateers and, for some reason, a cavalry. I expect this to be Shikokan for some time unless Tongu get here really soon. I am pleased by the resistance around Miede, though, but it seems both navies will get in place in time. I guess it's a time for the true navy culling of Tongu and Shikoku. The grind of North America is beginning to reach a boiling point as another wall of units begin to threaten the once proud army of Hiawatha even further. Gone is the unit walls that once blanketed this area, and now two relatively closely matched armies fight over ruins of Chu-Anen and Chehene. The only thing I know from this is that the real winner of this war are the Aztec, who can focus their attention on survival and maybe become the Tibet of North America. They're fighting for a brighter tomorrow. Good job, worker. You might keep the Aztecs alive. Maybe. Moors are pulling a poor move by stripping their army clean in favor of a growing blob of privateers. Perhaps their interests lie on lining their coast with growing amounts of carriers to eliminate the Manx. A noble goal for sure. The melee unit force around the front line is beginning to shrink as the units clash. I think the front line might shed a few units and push up to Shishinde again, especially as the former Poverty Point capital is sniped. Meanwhile, an Aztec swordsman flexes east of Tsokanende. Such a hero. Nubia, how you doing? Obviously winning the game considering I think this is the first time I mentioned you. Speaking of, it seems your army is being filled with Nanette units, which is funny, all things considered. Speaking of being filled, Madagascan units flood up to Udo now, confirming my fears. I'm beginning to think Madagascar might take Benin. My only response is, please do. Please. It seems that capturing and killing Papua might have not been the best for relations, as it has caused the ultra-scary Maratha army to declare war. Truly a conflict for the ages. Iroquois sending in a big boy army to capture and hold the naval cities of Ganius and Itsahiti. Carriers are beginning to be filled as more modern units begin to flood the seas from the technologically superior Uruguay. It's without doubt that anyone that fights Uruguay has to bring a carpet, but I don't think any army could hold them off forever. It's only a matter of time, Hiawatha. Of note, the model for the carriers appear to be missing on the Iroquois fleet. Dare we see a ghost carrier? And I'm going to need to see fan art for an Iroquois ghost aircraft carrier, please. Wait, is there fighting going on between the Kwikoro and Venezuela? I couldn't tell except by the amazing lack of units in the Venezuelan core, although that might be because they're busy eliminating the poor old Aztecs. Oh well, they have an excuse unlike the Moors. Oh boy, while we're sitting here playing Civ 5, Haida might be playing Civ 7 where unit stacking is back, showcasing an impressive fleet of 6 boats on one tile. I have a feeling something is amiss, but I can't tell. Also, Tongu seem to have occupied Haiden lands, which is quite amusing. User Emerald Range once more said no, and thus the war to eliminate the Qing was closed. Sorry Haida, maybe next time. It seems the attack on Maniwa has fizzled out while Shikoku's navy seems confused. It seems that having everyone hate you might confuse your priorities. Who knows if this will flip after all? Meanwhile, Tongu approaches. Will you be able to defend Shikoku? I can't believe it. Nepal might be actually benefiting from this war, and that's really sad. Zinmei, a new Tongu city, seems to be stealing more and more land from Kathmandu. I wonder how Nepal would fare a lovely hand from Tongu. I'd think they can conquer Shikoku and Nepal, and that's very scary. It seems the city of Sukumo will be the first casualty in favor of Tongu with this impressive smattering of units surrounding the ports, blockading trade as they shrink the navy before taking the city. The city is far better than most island cities due to impressive amounts of atolls and mines providing some good production base. I think it could further assist Tongu as they push north, showcasing projection of power greater than any civilization aside from Mark II Vietnam, who managed to capture all the way to Arabia before losing it all to the Boers and then Brazil. I'm starting to think that Tongu really is a lot like Vietnam from Mark II, but will they survive unlike the twins? Endgame. A project made to ensure every season of CBRX has a victor, was made a necessity by exactly this. Armies of outdated junk ships floating around in the ocean awaiting irrelevant war, only to grind uselessly against each other and block all other ships, creating a garbage patch that spreads the cylinder. In other news, it seems that irrelevant wars will be fought at sea, with all contestants having some ships floating aimlessly in the ocean. Only time will tell if they actually see relevant combat. While it seems cool that Tongu are on the attack after being surrounded, there's some things to note. The first is that these ships are hilariously out of date, supported by a newly constructed air force, while surrounding ships aim specifically to eliminate the Tongu fleet. The second is that Tongu are beginning to build or buy battleships to coat the sea. These units are boss at eliminating civs and easily are my most rushed unit in any battle with a coastline capital. Cool stuff. Meanwhile, Sukumo flipped to Tongu. Expected to flip for a while, but ultimately end up brown. The Iroquois seem to have shed its privateer skin as modern units like carriers and aforementioned battleships clash on the edge of Port Lamar. This battle seemingly will go back and forth, but for some reason I can see some of that Canadian tenacity in them. Pointless plug, while I didn't get my Canadian civilization in a state I'd be proud submitting, JFD produced his own Mackenzie King mod that's very nice. Naval-based uniques and a trade focus, which makes a very nice contrast to my land war-focused variant. Give it a download to support JFD. Hopefully I'll get the time to release mine in the tandem. Jesus heck, that's a lot of units that just disappeared. That's easily the most devastating naval battle since the Battle of Midway, where Japanese naval plans got leaked by cracking naval code, resulting in the destruction of many Japanese carriers by a strong fleet and powerful counterattack. Amazing how faithful they were to that battle, as it appeared to be recreated part for part here. I imagine then that the carrier about to die is Akagi. Remember, there's some major civilization still running crossbowmen. This is very disturbing. It makes me just want to glance at the info addict document I have, but I don't think I want to be sick. Uruguayan lead is impossible to beat. Well, Maratha decided to stop messing around and sent a moderately advanced navy to destroy the New Zealand fleet off the western Australian coast. That's pretty sad. Nothing else happened here, though. Oh, except for one of the biggest declarations of war in the past few parts. Vikings have had enough with messing around with the Manx and have turned their sights on the only one that could seemingly threaten the Viking core. The front line, without taking advantage of open border agreements, is 2 tiles, made into one due to tactical Uruguayan units, one of which is a woefully out-of-date pikeman. Put that away, it's an antique. Aachen loses some units to a Viking citadel, so it might be likely that Venice could declare on the Vikings, but I doubt that'll happen due to the visible open borders they have. Yet again, Shikoku was moving peacefully through Tongu borders one part ago. Could this battle be stopped by Uruguay? It seems likely that these units here are just camping, but some have not come for pleasure, but came for business as damaged Uruguayan units part outside of Iroquois territory, ready to eliminate any units that cross their anti-air guns. Weird times, folks. At this point, it seems the only way the Apache can pull off a stalemate here is plain luck. They lost so many units that they are relying on their amazing unique units to equalize the battlefield. It could go anyone's way at this point. The army south of Poverty Point seems to be non-existent anymore. Moors continue to be clutch in protecting Jaketown and their precious great merchant. What good lads. I think New Zealand is obsessed with trying to take a city with minimal units. This isn't Prince difficulty. This will not be enough. I expect these units to evaporate like dust. The war I pointed out aeons ago is still going on, and this time there's something happening because as soon as Gothic researchers knew how to fly, they immediately sent it to the front line with 6 of these airborne combat devices, striking at the heavily populated city of Saray-Burg and Atil. The tech advantage that Goths have might be more powerful if they could actually fight on the water, or fight in more than 2 tiles on land. This might result in a few flips, but I think the Golden Horde will be covering this part of the map in its off-orange color for many parts to come. I was hoping either of these wars would have meant more than this. It seems the war has entirely stopped between Nepal and the Kazakhs, while the units reaching the front line of Madurai are already dead. I hope that both of these civs just declare peace, give off some dumb city, and go on against more fruitful neighbors. Wow, this war between the Qing and Qin has been a grind, as the population-heavy cities in the core of China are vastly under-defended. If it wasn't for Tonggu, I'd have advised Japan to crush the Qin with Cantonese help. Imagine that. Canton reclaiming Asia. That's an amazing thought. Also, resolutions appear to have passed. We have images coming up, so wait for that. It seems that people around the city of Tura have taken to arms over the death of the final reindeer warrior. This land seems incredibly thinly defended. I can honestly see the Kamigs taking the capital in 2 parts, and I think the Evanks know that. Cut it out, Evanks. Stop building navy and build units, and as many research buildings as you can. You need to remain ahead of the techs. It seems that the promotion allowing pillaging tiles for bursts of yields in nearby cities has been retained on promotion as even more modern units pillage cities around the ruins of Balankab. I expect the city to flip a few more times before Zimbabwe controls it. Ambober is next, and that name is infinitely more fun to type and pronounce in my opinion. It seems that instead of defending, they are determined to destroy Tonggu and punish them, as units surround almost every Tonggu city. But just like splitting units along long front lines like the Métis did against Apache, it's a terrible idea, as there's at least 8 attacks per turn the Tonggu can make with their city centers alone, and that's not counting the Air Force. This might backfire badly for King Dick. The Iroquois continue to hand Uruguay the L. With this, it seems like any advancements will need to be on the back of destroyers and battleships and not embarked units. Is it possible that Uruguay can win any battle? Are we overhyping the yield glutton? It seemed like it was inevitable for the battle to be won, but like a plot twist you'd see in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I haven't, a new strategy was devised that changed the rules of battle. This strategy quickly grinded the Gothic melee units down, leaving only field guns to strike the city. This might be it for the gains the Goths can make. Maybe next time, Alaric. Oh boy, voting. It seems like the major proposals are banning a luxury, boo, and world religion, double boo. But what can be expected? It seems like world religion is going to fail, but I don't know about ivory. Do enough civilizations have them in their empires or trades with other empires to make it worth it? Time will tell. Speaking of voting, if you are of age, register to vote if you're an American citizen, and if you're not, you can help others register to vote. This is probably one of the most important presidential elections of all time, so do it. Okay? Notice how I'm not telling you who to vote for, but vote for whoever she is. The Qin have taken and secured the first 3 cities, and it seems like it's over. Enlightenment-era units have arrived to help balance out the tech discrepancy, but there's no way these can help. They're ranged units and hardly fit for defending against his. This is a pretty unwinnable situation. I almost feel bad. Almost. Nazca? Wait, no. Did they declare on Shikoku? Will they be the defenders of Maniwa? This is unreal. I discounted the declaration of war a few scenes ago, and now I'm sitting here eating my words. Well, that's interesting. If only Shikoku or Tonggu had more than 5 units at one time, then maybe something can happen. The only one here with a strong navy here is the Nazca. They're not going to take Oko, right? God damn, you might be a single unit, but the things this day has seen will be recorded for years. Balankab has been taken and the Zimbabwe army evaporated like water in a flashpan. With the front pushing up to try to capture Shishinde, it seems like the lines were broken and once more the army gets pushed back. I don't know for how long, as Air Force and melee units are plentiful, but the fact that the Iroquois territory is 2 tiles from the Apache capital of Hysandain is saying something. With an insane amount of units flooding other nations, I'm surprised that there's only a few units surrounding the island nation. It seems like if a war were to break out right now between Zimbabwe and Madagascar, that at the very least, Alasora would be flipped into non-existence by the overwhelming presence of units. Alasora, is that a dinosaur? It seems that Uruguay didn't like New Zealand owning Australia, so opted to take it off their hands. Funny thing is, I could imagine them taking Mean Jin for a few turns, which is hilarious given the situation. It seems unlikely that New Zealand will ever fight against Uruguay in the future, though. Meanwhile, you can see the amazing lack of anything but privateers in this navy. Of note, the Anzac has appeared. The Anzac replaces the Great War infantry that heals faster for being in non-friendly lands farther from the capital and has additional combat strength outside of friendly territory. Pretty nifty should New Zealand declare on Australia, which wouldn't be wise right now. Jesus, what a comeback! 3 cities captured with only one of them potentially flipping. The Uniques couldn't have came at a better time. The Iroquois also seem thinned out. This might be the end of the war. Holy hell, good job. Rapidly, it seems like both empires are beginning to thin out as they clash on open waters outside Alabur. Gaps forming in the navy allow Venice to invade their lands as they use the Venetian lands as a further attack point, but considering the carpet of Prussian unique units, I doubt it's a great idea. Pokhara somehow flips, alleviating border gore until you realize that Bhaktapur claims 2 tiles south of the city. Rage from all mapmakers ensure. I doubt it'll remain regardless, especially with the sheer amount of units flooding around Bhaktapur. Also, Shikoku has learned from their elders and has built the Manhattan Project. This is troubling for anyone, especially Korea, who sit right on their border in bombing range. With air power and a strong navy, it seems like the Vikings can win if it wasn't for the peacekeeping force of Uruguay and Venice blocking all units from doing almost anything. There was an attempt, Ragnar, I'll give you that. I'd give this war to the Vikings if they can clear the peacekeepers, but until then it seems pretty even. With that, the chaos of Oceania is officially too hard to rank. I give up. Haida seems to be gesturing its intent to destroy the Qing at all costs. That, or filing an angry letter at Tongu for denying access to the Qing colony. Tongu responds with, "We have the power of a god," while laughing maniacally. Meanwhile, Shikoku seems to have a naval advantage for now, but only possesses submarines, which are a paper tiger in naval warfare. All attack and no defense. Once destroyers patrol the waters, expect these to be floating husks. And with that, the Goths win a powerful peace deal, turning the once powerful nation into a small rump. Goths had done a masterclass job in taking these cities in a peace deal, no doubt ejecting the military that the Golden Horde uselessly had into the ocean. The only one who can take Merv now are the Parthians due to terrain penalties. It's only a matter of time. With a ring in Beijing, the remnants of the crossbowman youth squad run away from the city. Forced to defend with whoever was available, women and children ran away from the coming gunfire before capturing the palace. The government in exile is chased along the one route to their new capital of Beiding, chased in tow by faster vessels on sea as they crash into Baoding. Shishi was seen locked up in a room at her interim palace and hasn't responded to calls. The council assumes direct control and throws every man, soldier, and child at the problem. The violence is as bloody as it is common. The massacres begin without end. The future is grim. Imagine what it's like in Baoding. Also, South America exploded, but nah, that's totally not important. You know what's important. This one-tile gap is all that Marathan units can do to threaten the homeland of New Zealand, but will they do it? I'm amazed they even fought back for their Antarctic colonies. What will they do to enact revenge, especially considering their population is hungry for victory after the poor performance against Nepal for the past 30 turns? This time with a new challenger. They were born in the hills and the desert, so what's a gigantic jungle to them? They've been through it all, and they are determined to take Kwikuro. Godspeed. I expect the war to be a stalemate, but unlike Uruguay, they have a light enough attack force to move dexterously through the forest. I somehow expect this to go the way of the Nazca, just to prove my point that Uruguay is beyond overhyped. They are scary as heck, but they aren't game-endingly scary due to their competency. They're amazing due to overwhelming power. Hear me now, quote me later. Oh lord, they coming, and that's it. Okay, I'm tired of these half-assed wars. Bring your whole navy or you get none of it. Jeez. It seems unlikely that Balancab will flip again as another force suddenly attacks and surges, pushing up to Ambobert. Their navy attack fleet is also extinguished, floating in the water for no reason other than to stand up to the Madagascans. It's not a smart strategy. This slide is guest starring the Nanette Crossbowman and Algerian Worker. You do you, guys. Oh no. The army around the capital is depleted. Shishinde is now defended by only one unit, and the bulk of the army is now hugging around Lepe-Ninde. This might be looking bad, especially due to the flanking force only guaranteeing that the Iroquois hold onto the city forever. This is looking bad for the Apache. Alright, it's time for the war to end. Qing will need to use the remaining cities as leverage to retain their northern colony. Sell as many units here and sue for peace for those very cities. It's over and it's done. Qing is going to be kicked out of Asia through peace or in pieces. With the battle line stability, it seems that Bergen will remain in Viking hands while Marienburg will stubbornly remain Prussian. The army is being depleted fast on the side of the Prussians, while Vikings are losing some units but look far more healthy. Are they diving across the water around Magdeburg? With the armies forming once more in Uruguayan favor, it seems that Juan is insistent on not losing another battle. I could only imagine how often the parties are flipping due to unsatisfactory leadership, but yet again, if I was the most advanced nation in the world, I'd be upset if they lose a war against some guys in a jungle. Wait, where have I heard that before? It seems that the Sulknum and Nazca agree that Kwikuro gotta go, so a task force of Nazcan units form along the border, with some sad units like pikemen forming the front line. The Sulknum are there in spirit though, and that's half the battle, at least so I'm told. With that, it seems unlikely that Pokhara will be ever Nepalese again, pushing them further back towards their mountain. The armies seem rather intent on grinding it out, but we're beginning to see the end of where Nepalese troops end and where peacekeepers begin. Madagascar is looking to scope out some free real estate after all. P.S. I hate that those tiles remain Nepalese. I expect and hope for total Nepalese destruction for the injustice. The amount of privateers around these parts is insane, and they are beginning to wrap around the Manx Isles. Meanwhile, it seems the Mans are quite technologically averse, preferring pikemen to actual modern units and early Enlightenment-era boats to something useful. I think the time of Manx supremacy is over. Something about cold civs taking over the United Kingdom feels tradition. First Iceland and now the Vikings? What's next? The Faroe Islands? Pfft. If there's one thing I wish we can do, it's massively increase production cost of units when all available land tiles are taken up by units, and same for naval units. That or just ban open borders. That works too. This slide guest stars Nanette's again, the Czech, Haida, and Haiti. Quite an eclectic group. We rarely get this nowadays due to the nature of culling, but here we see how surprisingly powerful the Iroquois are due to superior yields, and how populous New Zealand is. Most notable is that the Uruguayan military is 7 times the world average, and their impressive literacy rate. Smart boys. It seems that due to the overwhelming power of Uruguay, that more and more people are willing to go order, bringing the list to a surprisingly high amount of people. All the ideologies will be updated on the sheet. Poor Australia, but it seems unlikely it'll actually change until happiness gets too low, so for now, we wait. Hey, at least they got the Statue of Liberty. Ivory seems to have been banned. However, the Tongu proposal of their religion being world religion got a universal no from the council. New things are Embargo Maratha, which will get some good votes. Meanwhile, good guy Algeria will establish science funding, allowing even more ways for civs to gain technologies. Remember, gaining more great scientist points is a good catch-up mechanic as they increase in cost with each one spawned, so this will massively help the smaller empires even if it's a percentage boost. Good guy Algeria. And that's it for the part. Algeria seems to be pushing out its cheese-loving religion up to Greenland while Nubia's faith recovers, displacing the Libyan faith even in the Holy City. It seems pretty evenly split, although the Iroquois religion appears to be slowly overtaken by the Yupik religion. Exciting stuff. Tune in next time while we watch these colors change even more and maybe a war to spice things up. It's been a pleasure narrating again for you all on short notice, so I hope to see you next time. And this is Dawkinzz. I appreciate Lunar helping me out because I am on my way to Disney World. So, wish me luck. I hope to have a lot of fun. And until next week, we'll see you next time.